Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the ABC FC podcast. It's Monday, so that means it's time for our weekly review of the action from the Bundesliga and the A-League. Very different weekend, some unusual results, and one fantastic result in particular. That thing with my lips curling is actually me smiling, which I haven't been able to do for a number of weeks on this podcast. And Chester, I'll bring you in. How are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, I mean, that's the exact reason why you asked if you could take the intro for this week's episode, because of something which we're not going to quite spoil or reveal yet to you lovely people, but we will in due time. But yeah, let's without much further ado, let's just get cracking into it and begin the action with that Friday night game like we always do with the Bundesliga, where Union pulled a surprise, I'd say, against a very much in-form Leipzig side.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, what were your thoughts on it, first and foremost?
Look, there weren't really any real highlights in the first half, but Jan Diamande testing yet another goalkeeper. Once again, he was certainly dangerous, but not a lot to mention in the first half. But the second half was actually full of action. Ollie Burke actually scored against his old side, soon before the hour mark, and that actually lit the fuse. So, really, really good strike. And it's actually the first goal from an Union striker since September, so clearly their midfielders have been helping them out during that time. But Gomez actually scored minutes later thanks to a lovely through ball from Conrad Harder, who made it look pretty easy. But again, another goal not long after that. So Elias Ansar actually scored again for Union. So that had actually proved to be a test for RB. But yeah, they were still in the contest up until then, as good sides are. And remembering they won 6-0 the week before. So I thought they were a little bit flat. But Tim Skarka scored in stoppage time to really wrap it up. But I thought they were outplayed, and they've got Leverkusen next week before the break. So
yeah,
credit to Union though. But yeah,
I mean, look, I think it's a timely performance and win for Union, who, let's be honest, in recent weeks had fallen a bit flat, especially after we've been praising their home form in the early stages of this podcast era, of course. Leipzig are like a team in form, obviously, going into this, and just kind of missed the mark, I feel. That, I mean, yeah, it's not easy to go to Union and get things from the game. I mean, we obviously got a point out of our game there as well. So it's not exactly an easy place to go. I just thought, the manner of the defeat, Union, very impressive. Like when they're really on it in that kind of system that they play under Baumgartner, they really do look like, they're not the most eye-catching football playing team, obviously, but they really like to get stuck in, and the players are all kind of, one for the cause, if you get what I mean. I thought, Ollie Burke's goal was fantastic as well. We've got to put that out there. Such a good finish from him. Just cuts inside, just straight into the top corner. A very good finish from Ollie Burke, that was, absolutely. I have to say. Yeah. We'll be hoping, obviously, to get himself back into Scotland contention and starting in the World Cup next year, of course.
Yeah. Definitely one of the many just highlights in terms of goals that we saw this weekend for sure. But that was a great finish.
I mean, and this even the answer header, the ball in was fantastic. The header was perfectly placed, and perfect time for and then Tim Skarka finally gets his first goal for Union as well. Again, good finish across the keeper, and just overall Leipzig not really at the races, and not a great time to not be at the races when you got that big game against Leverkusen before you head into the winter break. So absolutely, I expect Leverkusen are beatable. Obviously, I think Leipzig should be going into that as favourites. But just going off this showing, it wasn't great from them, and I think their fans will be hoping that they can at least get something from next week's game, so they're not going in off the back of back-to-back defeats and stuff. But good win for Union.
Definitely,
very
home
poor
form's
performance,
important, as we've said before. Yeah,
very poor performance from Leipzig, who were anything but flat last week when they tore Frankfurt apart.
Correct.
But moving on, the first game I had a look at this weekend was Hoffenheim versus Hamburg, and wow, Hoffenheim absolutely showing everyone what they can be like this season. It's not the first time they've moved clear of a team on home soil, and it's not going to be the last time, I imagine, this season. 4-1 it was in the end. As a Pauli fan, obviously, you were rejoicing in that scoreline, I imagine.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah. They seem to do it well, don't they, Hoffenheim, when they really click. I mean, they're scoring early. They got 2 early goals in this game. Grisha Prommel again, he's just got a knack for getting goals at times, doesn't he, when his team need it. Yeah. And then gets the assist as well. And then Ozan Kabak on his return from injury in a position you wouldn't normally expect to see the centre-back prodding in from close range past the keeper. And Hoffenheim doing what Hoffenheim do so well and have been in recent times this season. Hamburg, kind of just restricted to playing on the counter, I felt, through most of the encounter. And, Dompe was rested. He wasn't playing. Königsdorfer was playing up front. They brought Balde in as well, and they had a lot of pace with those two on the counter, I will say, but not much, if any, quality in the final third. Both of them had some pretty tame efforts on goal, in one-on-one situations in the first half when they were 2-0 down. And, when you're chasing and you're on the break and you're playing in that system for a game, you don't want to be wasting the opportunities that come your way. You want to be trying to make more of them.
Definitely.
And it was only really going to be a matter of time until Hoffenheim just finished off the game, and that's exactly what happened in the second half. Lempele, I mean, how many times have we said it in this podcast, over the past week, Tim Lempele. I mean, he is literally one of the most important players in their attack this season, and gets himself a goal in this as well. A very good finish, like a neat and tidy finish. The way he bodied the defender as well before putting it through the keeper's legs. And then Asllani comes off the bench and does what he's been doing so often this season as well, getting on the score sheet.
Yeah.
And, late goal from Philippe. And then the missed penalty from him shortly after as well. It just wasn't a good day in the office for Hamburg, was it? Really wasn't.
No, and I think it's on it. I was just going to say, I think it probably talks to the bench depth. Try saying that fast 3 times, folks. The bench depth of a lot of these teams.
Bench depth.
We've talked about guys like Shuto Machino coming off the bench for Gladbach a few weeks ago and scoring. It's these guys that tend to come off the bench and even Heidenheim in the last couple of weeks, they've had guys that have come off the bench and scored. It's just that ability, and that I think that in a cutthroat league like the Bundesliga, you need those players that can sort of come on and step up, and Hoffenheim have certainly got those in Asllani. I mean, from a Hamburg point of view, I'm my thoughts on them and how I hope the rest of their season goes, but I guess just outplayed. Same as the first game.
I put it down to like, it just seemed like the last 2 weeks prior to this, they put in an excellent effort to beat Stuttgart, and then last week the amount of effort they put in that fantastic derby they had against Bremen last week, it just kind of felt like, watching the highlights from my point of view, it kind of just felt like they were just kind of running on empty at that point, the players. Yeah. Like, I know Poulsen had made changes and stuff like that, but it still kind of felt like the core of the team that were on the pitch and had been in the derby as well were just not really at the races, which is fair enough. I don't think it's a panic stations moment for Hamburg. They're going to have results like this. I'm not going to keep beating the old, broken drum, or call it, spinning the old broken record, or call it what you will, when I say stuff like this for other teams as well. But yeah, I just think, they're still a good side. They've still shown that they can compete in the league and probably stay up this season. I mean, I think we said ourselves, it might have been off camera when we were hanging out other times, but we are big fans of their manager, Poulsen. I think he is a very good coach for this league, at least for like a club at the level of Hamburg are.
Yeah. Considering I didn't know who he... considering I didn't know who... Yeah, considering I didn't know who he was at the start of the season, I think he's done a really good job. So,
but Hoffenheim. I mean, look, I seriously believe there's a Champions League push for them this season at some point. Like, there definitely is and could and possibly should be. So fantastic again from Hoffenheim. Disappointing for Hamburg. Speaking of disappointing, the next game, Gladbach have had a pretty poor run again, after having a very excellent run after their poor run at the start of the season. Wolfsburg have started to click under Daniel Bauer, haven't they? The new manager's
Yeah.
come in. They've won back-to-back games, and this one was probably one of their best performances this season in total, I think.
Yeah.
Against, I mean, a Gladbach side who were coming into it off the back of that defeat last week, but, they're still a Gladbach side who have one of the best strikers in the lower reaches of the table right now in Tabakovic.
Tabakovic, yeah.
Arguably one of the best strikers in the league, you could even say, to be honest. Like,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
in terms of the physical presence, and he was at it again, bullying defenders. He was one of the standouts in the poor performance that Gladbach had. He had the impact. The own goal kind of came about from his presence.
Yeah,
He did
Klirakis
score.
couldn't handle him, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he could score. He did score, obviously, but it was ruled out for offside in the end. But yeah, on to Wolfsburg, though. I mean, yeah, I thought they were very. Since we began this podcast, that's probably the best I've seen Wolfsburg play. In all honesty, across like a full match, of course. And what Daniel Bauer's doing with his team, I'm a United fan, obviously, as everyone knows. I've watched Christian Eriksen play for my team for the last 3 seasons prior to this one. And I know what he's good at, what he's not good at, and it frustrated me at times at United when we weren't seeing him played in an attacking role under Ten Hag, like an attacking midfield role that is, and it wasn't really happening at the beginning of the season for Wolfsburg with him. But Daniel Bauer seems to have given him a little more of a free role, and we saw him kind of play that role in this game and play it to perfection. Like the assist for Wimmer's second and Wolfsburg third was brilliant from Eriksen, just kind of in close quarters, just kind of turning the defender and just sliding it across to the 6-yard box.
Yeah.
That's what he's kind of good at. That's what people know him to be good at. Just short, quick, clever, decisive passes in and around the penalty box.
Yeah.
But I thought, it was just very good from Wolfsburg. Wimmer had a great game, got 2 goals. Amora got himself back on the score sheet after a while without a goal. And obviously it could have been better had it not been for an offside goal that they scored of their own, where Lovro Meyer kind of slid in. Very good ball, but just fractionally offside. But I mean, what did you think about that one mainly?
Well, I mean, certainly from a Wolfsburg point of view, I mean, Wimmer and you said Amora, they've been in the they've been big sort of parts of this resurgence, I guess, for Wolfsburg in the last few weeks. I did see the quick highlights of this game, and that Klirakis own goal, just Tabakovic was just manhandling him, and just unfortunately just headed back into his own net. The finish from Wimmer after that, that second goal Wolfsburg saw, the pass from Eriksen was terrific. But I mean, I feel like saying, when we say, we've said it on this podcast, blank, make your own sort of script from there. That's sort of how often we've said it in recent weeks, I feel. So, but from a Gladbach point of view, am I allowed to say that I really do think that their run of losses has come from getting knocked out of the cup a couple of weeks ago?
Oh my God!
Because I honestly think that could be to do with it, on their own patch as well. So. Who knows?
I will say it's not come at a good time. They had a really good run, and they're just kind of falling back a bit towards the drop zone ahead of that winter break.
Yeah.
Like, they're not in danger of dropping back in there, obviously, but like they want to probably at least get a point at least from their game before the break, just so they're not going into it off the back of in effectively in all competitions what would be a 4-match losing streak if they are to lose again next week. So
most definitely.
So but we'll for the next game, I mean, this is why you were smiling earlier. We spoke about Hamburg losing, but they have lost a few games this season. Something did happen this weekend that hasn't happened since early September, is your boys, St. Pauli, won a game of football in the Bundesliga. How do you feel, Ben?
Well, I'll take this note to say it's the first win in the ABCFC era, if I'm not mistaken. So, which makes perfect sense because we've been doing this pod for 10 weeks now. So, look, fantastic, and more so because it's actually, as I said to you when we caught up yesterday, it's the first full game I think I've watched all the way through live in maybe since we actually Well, I think the Bayern game was I think the last one before that, but I don't generally with form the way we've been going, I just haven't watched it all the way through, but
because of the time difference.
Yeah, by the time it wrapped up, it was 3:30 in the morning on Sunday. And
although you could just not look at the result and watch it when you get up the morning, like I do with buying games, but whatever.
But as I've said, for this particular game and next week, which we'll probably talk about a little bit as well, my sort of mood was up because I had a feeling that we'd do something. We pinched that point against Union the week before.
And prior to that, had a promising looking performance despite losing to us ultimately as well. I will say
that's exactly right. Yeah, that was pretty good too. But look, my take on the actual game. Look, I was really impressed on multiple levels. The one thing that did surprise me though was Heidenheim actually left Stefan, almost called him Schimmer again, Schimmer and Honsack on the bench, and they've been really really vocal in those last couple of late minute wins for Heidenheim. So I thought that was a little bit of a surprise. It may have been a gamble. We will never know. But, both sides tested each other in the first half hour. We sort of ramped up the pressure a bit from there. Jackson Irvine actually bullied his way through into the box, or near the box, and Mathieu Pereira-Large actually had a shot that sort of came off the keeper and unfortunately just didn't get that bounce to find the back, and then it was cleared just about off the line. But the guy I want to talk about here is Joel Chima Fujita, Japanese international, and we hope that he'll get a World Cup call up. There's a couple of guys, and one of them we'll talk about shortly, who's almost certainly going to be on that plane as well. But he was brilliant, constant run, worked really hard to open up the play, and he actually set up Martin Cars for both of his goals, which was brilliant. The first one was a nice little ball into the box, and Cars just smashed it.
It was a great finish.
It was a fantastic finish, yeah. And his first Bundesliga goal, and he's sort of been behind guys like Otonji, who's hopefully coming back next week. We'll find out.
What I say is, even if he is back Hutonji, I think this is where Blessing sometimes hasn't helped himself. Not only this, but also last season.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know he's had to deal with a lot of injuries with Hutonji this season. A lot, Yilavogi last season was the big one, obviously, in terms of strikers who were having injury problems for you.
Yeah.
And I felt but it was last season and also this season when he's had strikers available and they have good games, like we've seen already earlier this season where Hutonji's had a good performance but then he's been dropped the week after. And it was happening last season as well. Elias Saab would have a good performance but then get dropped, and it's just
stick with the same side.
I just kind of feel don't you worry that going into that Mainz game, if Hutonji's fit, Cars will get dropped and then Hutonji will come back in and then that momentum goes again. And
I'd be stunned if he gets dropped after that. I mean, first goal was after 34 minutes, but 10 minutes later, this is actually what almost turned the game. So Eric Smith saw a straight red. It was the last man foul on Marvin Pieringer. So basically, and we've already talked about this off air, but it was an air swing clearance, just missed the ball completely, and he panicked and basically grabbed Pieringer by the shoulder.
When we spoke about this yesterday when we were hanging out, I hadn't seen it at that point. I've seen it today now. I have to say, I think that's not a red. I think that's ridiculously soft.
I'm glad we agree on that.
Shouldn't be a red. No. I'm surprised it didn't really go to VAR. I mean, I didn't watch the full
I thought it did.
Match.
I thought it had. Yeah.
On the highlights, it didn't really show much VAR stuff. I just think, yes, it's a foul. But to call that last man when you look at the replay, and I think there's at least 2 or 3 defenders who are able to possibly catch Pieringer if he goes clear of Eric Smith in that position. I think it's so far away from the penalty box as well. It's just,
we don't know if it's a clearing goal scoring opportunity.
That's very weird to call that a last man challenge and send him off as a result of it. Obviously, ultimately, it didn't impact the result. You still did well with 10 men and obviously scored the second goal with 10 men.
Yeah. I mean, the last thing I'll say on that particular point is I know the A-League have the ability to sort of challenge decisions. And I'm hoping to high hell that the Bundesliga have the same because,
But you can't see me right now. You can't see me, Ben, but I'm doing the review. I'm doing the review signal.
Surely that gets reviewed during the week
DRS.
Because you can't... Yeah, DRS. You can't have
Jackson
that.
Irvine. Jackson Irvine's going to channel his inner Patty Cummins.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Have a discussion on the field, just is he going up? Is he going up? Yeah, he's going up.
Decision on the scoreboard. Yeah. We'll see what happens, but I guess that gave Heidenheim a bit of a lift, and they almost scored about a minute after the restart. So cross comes in. It might have taken a touch, but Stefan Schimmer. And I've talked about this guy in the last couple of weeks. I think he's fantastic. He's been really good for Heidenheim.
I think he's very good. If
Yeah,
they go
he-
down, I think he
yeah.
definitely deserves the not a Bundesliga move to stay in the league. I mean,
Yeah,
you
I think,
guys,
yeah.
if you stay up,
Yeah.
right? Maybe.
Definitely. But basically, the ball comes in and he actually swivels and hits it first time. It was sort of a ball that bounced across the face of goal, and Pieringer just happened to be there to tap in, like almost on the line. So, and that was, I think, 2 minutes after the restart. So basically, yeah, we basically locked in and defended for the rest of the contest. And before that, though, it was funny, as I was saying to you yesterday, the commentator actually said just before this happened, oh, St. Pauli haven't scored a counter-attacking goal all season. Well,
Yeah,
that actually
I heard
changed as
that
well.
as
So,
well.
yeah, Chima Fajita actually put a nice ball through to
I was
Kaz
going
on
to
the
say
right.
that was
Yeah.
that wasn't a nice. That was a phenomenal pass.
Oh,
from
it was- well,
Vegeta, that
yeah.
was.
Yeah.
That was such a well-timed pass. Like he
Yeah.
had the perfect weight on it and everything. Yeah.
Well, what surprised me with the finish is I thought because there was a defender sort of in his way, and I thought, knowing us, he'll probably try and go around him, but he didn't. He actually backed himself
And
in.
the
And,
finish was like
yeah,
just
and
as good as the
struck
pass
it really,
that
really
supplied it.
sweetly,
Like,
yeah.
just hard, low. It's what you want to do in those situations as a player who's going through on goal. You just want to go hard, low,
Yeah.
and try not to give the keeper as much a chance as you possibly. Like, just try and give
Yeah.
him as little chance as you can.
Definitely, and did well. I mean, the keeper was a bit annoyed with himself because he got beaten by him again. But the final 15 for me was really tough because, as you know, living in an apartment building as I am, I can't sort of carry on. But I just was riding every single tackle and just fist pumping when the final
At like
whistle went.
3 in the morning, right?
Almost 3:30 in the morning. But
Yeah.
the guy I'll give the props to is who I call the Incredible Hulk, Hulk. One of the final acts of the game, blocking Shimmer. Basically to get us over the line. And look, it won't count for anything though if they can't back it up at Mines next weekend. And we'll talk about their result shortly, I'm sure.
A
It's gonna
game which
a
could
great
be made
game.
all the more difficult given what happened in their game against us this weekend, which we will be on to shortly.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think look,
Yeah.
we can't ignore the fact you've won a game in the league for the first time since early September. Now you're not even remotely out of the woods, obviously, right now, but.
You can't
The
see me, but I'm pumping my
confidence-
fists right now. Yeah.
But the confidence has to be built from this. And yes,
Yeah.
it's not going to be easy next week at Mainz, but if you
No.
can even get something from the game just to go into the winter break off
Yeah.
the back of 3 consecutive undefeated games even in the league, I mean, you would take that, right? 5 points from those 3 games into the
look-
winter break.
Yeah, well, I mean, looking at the table, I was having a look at it even yesterday. If we win and Augsburg don't, I think we leapfrog them as well.
So
I
you
think
could get out of the bottom 2 at least, basically.
Just as we're talking, I'm just going to consult the table.
If you're still second, no, I think you are still 17th, aren't you?
So they're on 13, we're on 11, but they've
Yeah.
got a better goal difference. Yeah, so if they lose, so if they draw, they're above us on goal difference. But if they lose and we win, we go above them, and then Hamburg's directly above them on 15. So, I mean, my final thoughts on that. We've seen other teams, and we've talked about on this podcast of it only taking 1 or 2 really good performances to sort of get that form, and hopefully for my sake as a Pauli fan, it's our turn now. Heidenheim had it a couple of weeks ago, and you get that sugar hit. Mainz had it last week, and they did well again on the weekend too. And even Wolfsburg, we couldn't win at home, and they've suddenly won 2 in a row. So
yeah. The difference
it
is
can
those
happen.
teams, well, with the exception of Heidenheim, I should say, those teams are the ones and Gladbach. The other teams you mentioned, Mainz, Wolfsburg, so on. They've changed managers recently.
Yeah.
Obviously, you guys haven't yet.
No.
But yeah, I think you're a long way from being out of the woods. Obviously, it's
Oh,
great
absolutely.
to finally win a game for the first time after 10 games. Of
Like I said,
of
got
course.
to back it up. Yeah, absolutely.
But now it's about, I think now, because you've won this game, I think you've earned yourself a chance to just maybe even accept a point against Mainz. Obviously, you're going to go out and try and win, but even a point wouldn't be terrible in next week's game.
Yep.
But I think losing it would be a big, kind of blow to the confidence after doing so well to get back on the winning run. Winning train.
Yeah, and Smith can be replaced, so that's not a concern for me either. Yep.
Exactly. But yeah, so moving on to the Frankfurt-Augsburg game. I was disappointed for Augsburg. They played excellent against Leverkusen last week, and I'm thinking playing against Frankfurt, who, yeah, they're still in the European places, but they concede goals for fun at times. So I was thinking maybe they take the confidence from that, and maybe they show a little something, knowing that Frankfurt shipped 6 last week, and maybe they try and get at them early and try and cause them problems, which, to be fair, they did, but the goal was ruled off, obviously.
That was a brilliant move. Yeah, 2 minutes in. Unlucky.
Yeah, but then I thought after that, yeah, fine, it got called off, but then the head dropped a bit, I think, and I think that was kind of just a bit, that's why I was a bit disappointed with them. Just like, they won last week. Frankfurt have been hammered. They know Frankfurt have a leaky defence. Yeah, they scored, wasn't given, but then they should have been like, okay, fine. We've shown we can score against them, so now let's get a legit goal against them and actually make it 1-0, but it didn't really happen like that. Frankfurt started to kind of wrestle control back. I mean, not an awful lot happened in the game, to be said. Wasn't really until the second half. I mean, the goal from Ritsu Doan was a thing of beauty, despite the deflection.
Yeah.
Despite the deflection helping it in, of course, but the actual movement, in and around the box is something he's done a few times this season. And, if there is anyone that's going to be playing front and centre for Japan in that World Cup, it is 100% going to be that guy.
He's definitely
possibly
a handful
one of the
for
best
defenders,
Japanese players right now in the league.
Without
a doubt.
Without a doubt, yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, look, I mean, flat for Augsburg, really, after such a positive-looking start. Good to see Finn Darman actually play like a competent goalkeeper as well for once, I have to say.
Yeah, he made some really good saves in that first half. And when
if you're watching Finn Darman, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Ritsu Doan, give us a follow on Instagram, thanks. He was good, and we've talked about him being poor in sort of recent games, and he's made a couple of errors, but they don't give points for strong effort, unfortunately, for Augsburg. So
2 offside goals. Look, it is what it is. But I feel on the balance of play, they probably could have gone at them a little harder and give them a little bit more to think about over the 90 minutes than they actually did. Disappointing for them to kind of slump back in that manner after such a brilliant performance against Leverkusen. But Frankfurt bounced back in their own way after a disappointing performance last week for themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So weigh up the balance it, Speaking of Leverkusen, I thought they looked much better this week than they did last week, albeit against Köln, who continue to impress me as a side, who put a lot of spirit into their games, even if they don't get the result they're after. I think there's another one of those Köln performances where it was kind of like that. Leverkusen ultimately having so much more quality than them, as they've had in other games they've played this season, where they've just been outshone by the quality rather than the effort that they've put in, if you get what I'm saying. There wasn't much again in the first half, though, to be honest. Kafane had a shot, on a tight angle, which he probably could have made a little more of. Waldschmidt had a chance for Köln, but aside from that, there wasn't too much. I mean, Hoffmann had a shot, which was quite easily saved from Schwaber. But yeah, I thought, second half, Leverkusen really started to put the foot down a bit more. I mean, Matza, who I've been really impressed with, to be honest, actually. Ibrahim Matza's really impressed me in recent weeks, along with like him and Ernest Poku's the obvious one, obviously, in terms of players who've been good for them recently. But yeah, Matza had another good game. Probably should have scored. Good save that he got from Schwaber. But then, if we're talking about derby goals, we had an outrageous one between, obviously, Bremen and Hamburg last week. Is this one even better than Martin Terrier? This is, as far as scorpion kicks go, I mean, who would imagine, you get it 2 in a week in a derby, right, in the Bundesliga. Mental, to break the deadlock as well. The ball's just kind of behind him, he's just flicked it, and it's just gone into the far side of the net. It's just so clever, that goal from Terrier.
Well, I think the prior to that one, the best one I've seen is Riley McGree's, and as we know, Ernie Merrick wasn't happy with that particular goal when that was scored, and I don't think he would have been even more impressed with this one. It was quality though. I was stunned. Really, it's just that it takes a lot of skill, and there's certain players that can hit them, and Terrier just. Yeah, what can you say?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then obviously Andrick popped up to bullet home a header, of course, to make it 2-0. And I think at 2-0, as good as, performances Köln put in, despite the lack of quality that they have against some of these sides, even at 2-0, it kind of felt like Leverkusen had sewn up a comfortable win at that point, which is what it obviously turned out to be. I thought El Mala was, a bit quiet for what you kind of expect from him at times this season, from what you've seen he can do. I thought Leverkusen kind of did well to just kind of keep him quiet and keep him out of the game mainly. I mean, Tapsoba, he's a very good defender. Let's not, he's one of the best centre backs in this league. Let's make no joke about that. He is very good. But I thought, look, Leverkusen had to win that game, given the fact that Leipzig lost on the Friday night, to keep themselves back in that top two, second place conversation, given the fact that they obviously lost last weekend. If they, not capitalised on a Leipzig slip-up, then it wouldn't have looked good for them. But they have bounced back, and they did so in good timing as well. And they have that game against Leipzig obviously next week. So if they can go and win that, then obviously they're going into the winter break suddenly in second place now, because the gap's down to 2 points. So,
especially with Leipzig being a little bit vulnerable at the moment, as good as they are, but they're back at home. So I guess that's going to be a really interesting game.
But I mean, what did you think about the game quickly before we move on?
Oh, look, Leverkusen probably just cruising a little bit, and Köln. They've been good, but like you said, Syed Almala, who's a guy that I've talked about, glowingly in recent weeks, and I saw what he did to us a couple of weeks ago on his own. He was kept quiet, and I guess that probably is the measure for Köln. When he's on fire, the rest of them sort of lift as well. They've got some really good players, but if they don't sort of perform on the day, they can be a bit flat, and just, I guess, a regulation win for Leverkusen. And going into that Leipzig game next week, that's going to be really important for them to, like you said, get some more form in before the break.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of another team who were up in that conversation, Dortmund dropped points in a game of two halves, really, because of one crazy moment of more shocking goalkeeping that we haven't seen enough of already, right, in the Bundesliga already this season. Freiburg for me are, they're quite good at picking up handy points here and there. They probably should have got all three from this, if I'm being honest, and probably disappointed and frustrated that they ended up only taking a point. But the first half was all Dortmund, really, wasn't it? Like, Dortmund, kind of put the foot down. They're very good at suffocating possession. The high press was excellent, especially in the first half. I mean, they should have been much more clear than one goal, though. That's the truth of it. Guirassy missed a header from about 3 yards out wide of the post inside 5 minutes, and then sent another one over the bar after 20 or so minutes. And then Chukwuemeka hits the post from a tight angle, fine, not the chance. And then Emre Can, I mean, that's the chance really you should be burying, right?
Yeah.
The high press, the turnover, and Chan's just literally one-on-one practically on the edge of the box. And it's a very tame shot, ultimately, isn't it? I mean, ultimately, look, they still got in the lead. It was a great free kick. Ben Sebaini was right there on the back post, put them in front. And you're thinking, right, Dortmund have been in this position so many times before. They're going to keep the possession strong in the second half. They'll easily walk in a 1 or 2-0 win, job done, right? But no, not really, exactly, because not too long into the second half, but Gregor Kobel decided to give Freiburg a helping hand with some completely brainless, careless passing out from the back, putting Joe Bellingham under so much pressure in a position you don't want to be under pressure, leaving him no choice but to just, unintentionally but clumsily foul, and them's the rules, the player for an obvious red card. And then all of a sudden, for the entire second half, Dortmund are the team on the back foot instead, and Freiburg are the team with the high press domination game plan. And still credit to Dortmund, because they've shown already this season they're good defensively, and they did it again because they frustrated the hell out of Freiburg in that second half. They did get level, of course. I mean, I will say, we talk about that scorpion kick. I mean, Lucas Höhler's goal was pretty special itself, let's be real, right? It was a very good finish from him for his first of the season as well, right? But then that was really all they could muster, essentially. I mean, they did score late on, but it was ruled out for offside. But I think Freiburg would just be feeling frustrated, and Dortmund at least happy to the fact that they didn't completely capitulate after some, that horrendous moment from Gregor Kobel. But what were your thoughts on that one?
Look, certainly, I mean, Dortmund dropping points is always a little bit unusual. I mean, not every side can take points off them, I guess. But look, really good for Freiburg. I mean, they'll just be happy to continue getting points, going into the break like all sides are, I suppose. But Yeah, I mean, just looking at the the clumsiness of the foul from
Koval.
Bellingham and of Kerbal, yeah.
I'm not putting it on Bellingham, to be honest.
No,
That is
okay,
Koval's
right.
mistake 100%.
Right, yeah, yeah.
I know as your former your indoor goalkeeping union, you're gonna blame the midfielder and not the goalkeeper, but whatever. I see it differently.
Goalkeepers are only as good as their defenders, mate. I'll give you that one for free. But yeah, look, it happens, and it's obviously not the only last man sending off of the weekend. So something to be said about that, perhaps.
Although that one actually was the last man, I kind of think. That's not Eric Smith's, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, Lucas Holler, fantastic finish, and I guess just both sides settling for the point and differing feelings on how the point came about. Really, I mean, I think Dortmund would be really probably more frustrated because you probably see that as a game, especially where they are on the table, that they should be winning. And I guess that probably goes for potentially, I guess, the next game that we'll talk about as well.
I mean, I was going to say, the tangent works perfectly if we're talking of the phrase settling for the point, because I can't believe, given how good we've been in not only the league, but every competition, bar that Arsenal defeat in the Champions League, of course, this season. I mean, I can't believe I'm sitting here after watching Bayern, my team play, and agreeing that we did actually end up settling for the point, it almost felt like, in that game. Because even the draw at Union a few weeks back, I still felt we should have won that game and were trying to win. I'm not saying we weren't trying to win this game, but it felt like towards the end of the game that we were not happy with the point, but I think settling with the point's a bit strong in that case. But Mainz were excellent.
Had to work
they
for it,
changed their
definitely.
manager, of course, and Urs Fischer, Bundesliga fans of the past will know him well for his days with Union, even recently, where he got them up back into the Bundesliga and he got them up into Europe, obviously, of course, at one point as well. So he's well known in this league and has been was a very good coach, I should say, for Union.
Yep.
He had his first game in charge of Mainz, and I have to say I was thoroughly impressed with how well the team at the foot of the table, who prior to this week looked completely bereft of confidence in every game they were playing, turned up and played the team who were running away with it at the top of the league.
Yep.
Like there was nothing between them at this stage of the season. And it genuinely felt like that. Obviously the game planned out the way you kind of expect it to. Mainz sat very deep, a low block. We completely suffocated them through most of the game. It was a frustrating watch at times. I thought we were better in the first and the second half. Leonard Carl, the ever-impressive 17-year-old that he is, grabs our 50th league goal of the season and 1-0 up, and I'm thinking, right, now we got the goal. Now let's just see it out, get an easy 3-4, maybe even another 5. Let's just do it from here, right? Because they're bottom of the league. I'm not cocky for thinking that, am I? But no.
I definitely didn't see that result coming. That's for sure. Yeah.
I mean, it didn't help you guys one bit, but it's still a good thing you won at least, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, but we didn't get that second goal I thought we were going to get in this first half, and then they swing a crossing, get the header on the back post, and all of a sudden we're in at half time and it's 1-1, and then we're thinking, hang on, what's going on here? This should not be happening. Second half begins, we come out with similar intentions to the first half. And then Mainz go in front from nowhere. I mean, excellent goal.
Great header from Lee.
Jason Lee, he scored twice, of course, against us in the same round last year when we lost our first game of the season.
Yeah.
And just buried the header perfectly, placed it beyond Neuer. And then all of a sudden, with 25 or so minutes to play, 30 minutes I think it was to play at that point, 25 I think, anyway, 20 or 25 minutes to play, pointless. We're all of a sudden trailing at home to the team at the foot of the table, and that's when football can be one of those crazy games sometimes, can't it? When you're looking at it going hang on, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
And it's not rare, and it's not common this season that I've been watching Bayern play and getting frustrated and saying, all right, can we wake up now? Can we actually wake up and get going here and actually finish this game off and now go and win it? That's more like what I'm like when I'm watching United play, if I'm honest.
It's like me when I'm watching Saints, mate. That's I can totally agree with that. But yeah, I mean, from a bottom of the table point of view, I mean, it's great for Mainz. As you said, they've got Fischer, their new manager, coming in. I thought the interim guy was it Benjamin someone did a great job. Yeah, him. Did a really good job sort of stepping in as well and sort of built that foundation. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it's like with the other teams that we've been talking about. Is this the springboard post-winter break? I won't say from this week because of who they're playing, but and that's a massive 6-pointer in itself, really. I mean, but I think, I guess the result sort of depends on how they fare, maybe post-Christmas and New Year when everything when the league resumes. That they've got that springboard of confidence to say, hey, yeah, we can take it up to these high quality sides and certainly perform better against the sides around us. And I think there's multiple teams and them included that that'll need to do that when the break finishes.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, look, we in the end got ourselves a point from it, courtesy of that Kane penalty. And look, experience will win out in situations at the end of the day. And it was very good, awareness from Kane to maneuver his body in the, when he was in the box and to, win the penalty from that situation.
Yeah.
To at least get us something from a game, which we should have got a lot more from. But it's kind of similar to when we were playing you, even though we beat you, of course. You remember me saying when we did our review that time, a few weeks ago, I was getting frustrated in that game, and it was similar to this one. I was just thinking we're a bit slow, a bit kind of pedestrian almost, it felt at times, to try and kind of break down the low block. And I don't want this to become a recurring theme this season, but I kind of just want to see a little more kind of oomph. Elise's not been as good right now this season as he was at times last season. That's no denying that. And this was another game where I think he was just a bit, he has a bad habit sometimes of getting on the ball and trying to do too much, and I think this was one of those moments where it's just maybe he just needed to take the quick cross or shot rather than trying to hold the ball up and skill past a man or just suck players in and open up space. Maybe this was the time where he probably needed to just look up more often and just take a shot if it's there, or whip a ball in, or play a pass, if you know what I mean. But look, I'm not, Bayern is still going to win the league, obviously. I'm not going to make a slight on my team. It was just one of those games, and Mainz fully deserved the win, let alone the point. It was a bit unlucky in their sake that they didn't actually win that game in the end.
No.
Defensive effort of magnificent quality. I mean, Danny Da Costa had an outstanding game at the back for Mainz, I have to say.
Yeah.
But all their players just kind of stuck to their task, and they did what was asked of them. And Daniel Batz, since he's come in to replace Robin Zentner, he's been phenomenal for them, and he had an absolutely brilliant game against us today as well. So, look, fair credit to Mainz. Bayern, you probably should have won. Now at least go and beat Heidenheim next week. Yeah, just we expect you to, so just do it.
I'll second that as good as they have been. But I guess just sort of my last thought on Bayern was, we talked about Union taking a point off them in Berlin. I guess from your point of view, is it a little bit strange that all of a sudden, you're getting sort of pushed to the limit by teams in games, like even the game against us, like you said, you sort of had to bury it in the last 15 minutes or so. Having these games against these sides that you should be expected to win, and then having sides sort of not find you out per se or work you out, but really sort of make you work harder in game, if that makes sense.
I mean, look, I don't put it as an excuse because, it's not the first time we're coming up against teams who are obviously going to low block us. I mean, practically almost every team we play is going to do that to some extent.
Yeah.
So, it's not like, I've seen us tear teams apart who low block. Like, I've seen us put 6 or 7 past a team who put 8 men behind the ball. It's not like we can't do it. It's just at times this season, I think I've just seen a bit of a frustrating pattern against low block teams where rather than playing quick, incisive passing, we're trying to, use trickery and skill to get through, and maybe sometimes it just requires a bit of uncertainty, a ball to just get pinged in the box and cause some chaos in the box rather than structure and rigidness. I don't know. I'm not going to bang on it too much longer because I kind of said all we need to about that. I'm not going to highlight just the next 20 minutes talking about Bayern and how we can't break down, or how we're struggling to fluidly break down low blocks right now. But we'll move on to a team who are having no problem scoring goals against any opposition at times, except for us, of course. Just put that out there. Stuttgart were back to it, weren't they? 4-0.
They definitely were, yeah.
Bremen were absolutely torn apart, and we began this podcast all those weeks ago praising the Amos Pieper, Mio Backhaus, Marco Friedel. Mio Backhaus had a shocking game against Stuttgart, I have to say. He hasn't been all too convincing in recent weeks either. one thing I want to put out there in this game, aside from Harry Kane, is Dennis Undav probably the best striker in the Bundesliga.
I would say so,
right now.
yeah. I think I saw a stat before he scored 10 in his last 8 or 8 in his last 10.
Because it's not just that, his finishing is unreal. Like, Germany, he has to go to the World Cup with Germany. Like, there's no doubt he has to get back in that Germany squad because of how good he's been for Stuttgart in recent weeks.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of, he gets on the ball in the box, he's practically scoring 9 times out of 10. And the other shot's forcing a good save from the keeper at the very least, right? So it's like, his finishing has been ridiculous in recent weeks. Stuttgart had another insanely good performance. El Canus was on it again. Leveling, what a goal that was. I will say, maybe Backhouse probably should have done a bit better with it because it has gone right down the middle of the goal ultimately. But still, his return from injury has been a massive uptick for them. Again, aside from our game, because he's been excellent since he's come back from injury. It's really helped kind of take that dynamic attack of theirs to another level. Yep. Undav's been brilliant and was again today. Yep. Got one. Obviously had the first one ruled out, but that was an outrageous finish as well. So, and as for Bremen, I think they had nowhere to hide in this game because they were thoroughly put to the sword in this one.
Well and truly, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at, I made mention of Chris Führer's goal, and just the ease that he was able to run into the box and score. Yeah, the pressure was minimal. I mean, by then the game was already done, sure, but just really no defensive awareness, and he was just able to sort of make his own way in and finish well. But, without a win, I mean, both sides came in without a win in their last 3, and, now it's without a win in 4 now for Bremen. So, and Stuttgart gets a bit of a boost out of that, and, again, 1 game to go before the break, and they'll want to consolidate.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's really exactly how it's fun. Like, I mean, look, if we're talking about the attacking teams right now, it's Hoffenheim and Stuttgart. They're outside the top 4 currently, but those are the teams I'm looking at second half of the season. Can they, can both or at least one of them make a push to Champions League football next season? Obviously, both of them have been in it recently, so it'd be great to see either both or one of them get in it again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it remains to be seen, I guess. But that will wrap up the Bundesliga portion of this week's review. If you're tuning into the video and you've made it this far, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, people. I'm remembering to do it more frequently now. So yeah. But we'll move on to the A-League now to wrap up this week's episode, where we have only one less game because Melbourne City MacArthur weren't playing this week. Start off with that Friday night game, would you, Ben? Mariners losing 2-1 to Auckland at Gosford.
Yeah, look, not a whole lot to sort of say here, but I mean, Auckland got the job done 2-1 as they were probably expected to. But the one thing I will say, Andrew Redmayne had a really good start. He made some really good quality saves. Sam Cosgrove really tested him, but Jesse Randall found space after 20 minutes and was on the end of a through ball in the box to score the opener. So, I mean, Mariners sort of didn't really hold on for too long. But they did get an opportunity back into the match. So, an own goal, I think it was Logan Rogerson. There was a bit of debate about whether it was Callum Elliott or Rogerson. I think it was Logan Rogerson who got the last touch. But it was a header that Eric Pardelou would have been really pleased with, knowing him from the old City days. Had it been up the other end, it would have been a fantastic finish. But and we've seen videos, Chester, of that sort of thing happening in other sports. So this was just sort of the same sort of thing, like, would have been fantastic up the right end, but not to be. So that got the Mariners back into the game. But, I mean, unfortunately, Auckland, hit the front again, before the hour mark. And that was through Cosgrove again, a really nice diving header. Not really much to add sort of after that. Auckland just going along, and they remain in second, especially with what I imagine, not just with City but with other sides, it's going to be a really condensed sort of Christmas New Year fixture as well, because we love that about the A-League. There's they might, I haven't seen their fixture, but I suspect they'll have a really sort of a quick run of games in the next couple of weeks to come, and they'll want to consolidate. But their home form, we know has been superb, but it's just good to see them getting the job done on the road, as they should as well. Corica's really got them going. What did you think?
I mean, yeah, I think it was a very predictable result in terms of who was going to win that game, right? Let's be real. Mariners were dreadful against us last week. I didn't expect much more from them against a very good Auckland side either, to be honest. No disrespect to Mariners, and I think that's exactly how the game panned out. Jesse Randall's having a great season. I have to say that. The header from Cosgrove was fantastic. I mean, if strikers want to learn how to do a diving header, just watch that goal on repeat. That's what I could say. I'm not giving any solicited advice because I'm not a professional footballer and I'm nowhere near that level, but like, because it sounds like I am the way I'm talking about it, but you get what I'm saying, people who are listening. I mean, look, it looks like it's going to be a long old season for Mariners. I mean, look, the only thing I can kind of comment on is the fact that, like, this is kind of reminding me of when Warren Moon was Brisbane's coach, and he had seasons where it kind of went well because it worked for his system. Like, when he's got the players who are, when he has physical players who are just going to get stuck in and are very good at just winning tackles, being aggressive in the air, winning headers, stuff like that, he can actually get a lot out of a side, surprisingly, because I thought at times he had Brisbane playing some not great stuff in terms of eye-catching football, but stuff that was getting them into decent positions in the league. But then on the flip side of it, I've seen, like we've all seen, he's had teams at Brisbane as well where he didn't have that, and that's kind of like what he's got with Mariners at the moment. I just don't feel the players are working for the way he wants to play football. He has a lot of players who aren't, they're not physical players. They're players who want to be on the ball and actually create. DiPizio's a good creative player, but he's not going to go charging into someone and win a gritty 50-50. Bailey Brantman's got the technique and the skill in the middle of the park, but he's not, he's not the type of player who's just going to, like, clean someone up and, stuff like that. So, I'm not surprised right now how it's going and the way they're playing because Warren Moon has his way of playing, and the players that he has at Mariners don't really all suit that particular way of playing. So and as for Auckland, I mean, they were like this last season, and they're going to be like this most likely again this season, and I'm hoping we can beat them at least in a couple of weeks' time, because that will be a big game, of course. On to the next game. Look, I don't think we could. Let's be real.
Speaking of boring sides,
I don't think. Look, sorry, people. I don't think we can spend much more than a minute or two speaking about the Wanderers Brisbane game.
I certainly didn't. Looking over this one for sure. I think
you enjoyed an absolute snooze fest. I was watching the highlights and it was boring. So
it was a bumper crowd of 4,600 people at CommBank to watch pop up. Maybe the most boring side in the comp. But I can guarantee you this, folks. This won't be released on DVD ever. We've talked on this podcast about different DVDs being released over the years for winning games. For this result, you won't see it released on. You won't find it at JB Hi-Fi, that's for sure. One of the most sort of boring 0-0 draws I think I've seen in a long time.
I mean, literally, to prove how boring it is, people, we obviously, as you probably know by now, because I might have said before, we leave notes. We each divide out the games across both leagues, essentially, who's going to watch the highlights of each and do the notes, obviously, to make sure the workload's relatively even. And Ben's got 3 sections of notes on this Wanderers Brisbane game. One of them about the crowd, one of them about a 3-minute highlight package summing up the game being boring, and the other one about, Wanderers putting pressure in the second half. And then but then mainly about the DVD thing he just mentioned. So if that doesn't sum up how dull this game is,
Harrington did really well. Other than that,
he's made 3 notes, and only about portions of the second and third note are actually on the game itself.
Yeah.
So you know what, Ben? Fair play to you to getting notes out of this.
I followed the script of the 3-minute highlights package on the A-League website, so kudos to you guys for bringing out such quality viewing. It really helped me out, but I guess from a Brisbane point of view, I will actually mention something serious about the game. Look, they probably deserve to win it, and they were probably unlucky not to.
Look, they've been very good defensively this season. There's no denying that. Like, they haven't scored many goals, it has to be said, but defensively they've been so difficult to score against.
Exactly.
And Wanderers have now failed to score in back-to-back games after beating us in the derby, so have that.
Yeah, well, I mean, Costa Barbarouses did have a good chance late. It was blocked, but Bazanis and Harrington and associates, look, they were really solid at the back, and I think they've brought that into the last few weeks. At least we've been following them with their victories. But I mean, as a game as a whole, a crowd of 4,600, we as a city side, and you've heard me say this before, we get bagged out for not having fans turn up. and we're the fucking we're the champions of the competition, and we get bigger crowds. You know, we've got a home derby on Saturday night against the bottom of the table Victory, and we might only get 20,000, and that's still 5 times over what this crowd got. Combank is a rugby stadium and a football stadium. I don't know how many it holds, you might know, but that's dismal, right? So,
Wait, are you a Sydney fan or a Melbourne City fan? Because you're starting to sound like a Sydney fan the way you're going after Wanderers right now.
Spending too much time hanging out with you, I think. But if you're gonna keep playing games like this at Combank, do what Port Adelaide did back in the 2000s and get the old tarps out on the seats. And I'm not even joking, Chester. This was actually a thing. They used to have like big tarps because they couldn't get crowds in on the outer side, and it's in folklore now. So I think the Wanderers might need to start pulling those out. Like they had with COVID. So, but anyway, I mean, yeah, I did make 3 points on this game, and they were probably the best 3 points of the match to sum it up.
Look, I've had my rants. We'll let you have yours, but let's move on in the interest of time to your City rivals who did play and did win, and you watched this one, of course.
I did.
Was surprised.
Yeah.
I wasn't like wholly surprised. Adelaide have had a bit of a rough patch of form of late. They've been shocking on the road, it has to be said. And Victory actually, for once, turned up, and put in a performance deserving of a win, and that's exactly what they got. Look, I have to say one thing. As a United fan, of course, I can forgive the fact that Matt has had a season at Wanderers and now is at Victory, because that means nothing in the fact that he's still technically a modern-day club legend for United, which matters more. But it is actually pleasing to see him playing in a role he should be playing in, and not playing in a flat 4-4-2, having to be dispatched out on the wing for Wanderers like he was most of last season, and actually playing in the number 10 role like he is in this Victory setup. And he was instrumental in that win against Adelaide, it has to be said, right? Very, very good performance. Virgos actually scored a goal, which is something. That doesn't happen all too often.
Yeah.
Adelaide shocking again on the road. Like, they just can't play on the road. It's weird, but maybe the Carl Viet not being there anymore, Ayrton Andrioli starting to, or Ayrton Senna, as you called him in your notes, until I corrected it. Having a bit of trouble with this one. What did you think about that game?
Look, I think Adelaide. I think they've got some issues. As I said, Ayrton Senna needs to go earlier on the weekend. But look, credit to their fans. Their away fans always turn up, and probably disappointing for them they didn't get more out of this game. But unfortunately, I have to give credit to Victory. They were better on the night. I'm glad they did turn up, because obviously I don't want them turning up next week and turning us over for obvious reasons. But yeah, look, they were terrific. I mean, Nikos Virgos was fantastic, I thought. Davidson's back there, and he really sort of guided the defence and had Elder Statesman really helped them out. But they probably even could have scored another one, Victory. So. But Adelaide, they've still got work to do to sort of get back to where they think they should be. I mean, we've talked about our pre-season predictions. We didn't get to do an episode that went to air on them, but we did talk about some of the teams that we thought might struggle. And right now, they're the teams that have actually surprised us. Brisbane being one of them, Perth being another, and Victory, I guess, being on the bottom. I'm less surprised, but. They did well in this particular contest, and it's going to be a really good derby on Saturday night, that's for sure. Yeah. City being well rested, obviously, of course, yeah.
Yeah, well, you'd hope, yeah. And there was one more game on the Saturday before we move on to the Sunday game, and it was my lot going back to the top of the table. It's 4 weeks in a row. I can't believe the start of the season we've had, and in my honest opinion, might be our best performance so far this season, just in terms of what was required out there in Perth to win that game against, obviously, we know an in-form Perth who won 3 on the bounce, of course, going into this game. Adam Griffiths got rewarded with a permanent contract. I'm not sure if it was till the end of the season or beyond the season. I'll double check that if you know or not, Ben. I was just going to say, I think if he makes another reference in his press comments to a mountain lion or
something like that, he gets another extension. I think that's
Look,
the
what
way
I will say, the
it
most
works.
impressive thing I think I've seen this season from Adam Griffiths is actually the fact that he was dressed in a full suit and shirt and jeans in about 40 plus degree heat somehow, which was just mental and
Yeah.
didn't even look like he was breaking a sweat.
Well,
So-
I think I remember seeing a little snippet. They crossed to, I think it was Jacob Burns doing the sideline, and he had a white t-shirt and jeans. Looked like he'd just come out of the cast of Grease.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So those conditions, and then of course 2 days later it's pissing down with rain, which was last night. So
Yeah.
4 seasons in 2 days for Perth. But
Yeah.
I mean, I had a little bit of a look at the second half of this one. You probably saw more of it than I did, but
Yeah, look,
you
we'll
know,
actually talk
yeah.
about the game and not the weather now.
Yes.
But yeah, I thought we were excellent in this, and as I said before, one of our best performances of the season, even though it wasn't a vintage game of football by any stretch of the imagination. We got the lead early. Joe Lawley, big thing firstly, Ocon Engsel was out last week. He was out again this week, but Joe Lawley being out was a bit of a worry. Wallity came in basically into the start of this game and scored within 5 minutes to get his first goal since joining from Western in the summer, and basically showed that he's able to hold his own in our team, obviously with Joe Lawley out injured for the time being.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
look, I think so. We took the lead early, and then it's 40-degree heat. Like those of you who watch the A-League regularly know that this happens multiple times a season. Here and there, especially in those Perth games, and understand that when you're watching football games and that, you're never going to expect to see a great game of football because of how energy sapping that sort of heat is for players out on the park. No matter how fit they are as footballers, it's always going to be a tough grinding game, and that's exactly what this game was. I mean, we took the lead, and then you're playing 90 minutes in 40-degree heat. You're not going to expect your team to be pressing high relentlessly like we sometimes like to do. We had to sit back to reserve energy in case we needed it later in the game. Had Perth scored against us and we needed to go and try and get a second goal, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So the fact that we sat back and were able to keep them out, and isn't a Perth of the last couple of seasons who have been pretty much pushovers to the league. It's the Perth who were looking very much a better side of recent times, and have a very good looking attack. Like obviously Adam Taggart going off with injury will be a worry for them.
Yeah.
And Kucharski kind of hopped off as well, but there was cramp everywhere for both sets of players because of the heat. So I'm not going to read too much into that, to be honest.
No.
We did excellent to keep Tom Lawrence relatively quiet throughout the game. From their point of view, look, they dominated most of the game after going behind, as you expect them to, because we were reserving energy, having to sit back and just soaking up pressure for 85 minutes or so in that heat is just immense. Alex Grant and Marcel Tisserand were absolutely monstrous at the back in that game for us, and full credit to them for the way they defended toward us getting that 1-0 win.
Yeah.
But even Wallity, I want to say, like, not just the goal, but his performance throughout. I think he went down with cramp on 3 occasions within the second half, and every time he got back up to continue playing. Now, that's, if you're going to talk about what fans want to see from players when they join a club, that's the type of shit. In 40-degree heat, going down 3 times in the space of one half with cramp, and every time getting back up to play on and keep going. Like, I'm sorry, like, if you're watching this somehow, Abel Wallity, that is phenomenal from you, my son. Like, fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, every plaudit deserves for that effort.
Yeah.
Not,
Well,
forget the goal. The effort to just stay in the game, knowing the team need him, because we didn't have much squad depth, is just phenomenal from him.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it's a quality effort on his behalf, and if he's able to, to continue that on the second half of the season, then you've got a great player on your hands there for sure.
I mean, look, one thing I also say is obviously Trent also got sent off against Wanderers last week, so they were missing him. But Shamoon came in to fill that right-back spot, and he was one of the best players on the park, I thought. Charbel Shamoon's been excellent since joining Perth. A lot of these players that have come over from Western United are finding kind of new leases of life at these other clubs, and he's no stranger to that. He was good last week. He was, as I said, probably one of, if not the best player on the park. Or one of, I should say, the best player on the park last night, so on the weekend, I should say. But yeah, look, it wasn't terrible from Perth. They were absolutely excellent, apart from the fact that they couldn't break us down and actually score. So nothing disheartening for them. And from Sydney's point of view, look, we got Jets away next week. No game in the league is easy this league. It's been all over the place as we've seen. But then after that, we got two big games which could be season defining. Auckland and Melbourne City in back-to-back weeks is what's going to be really season defining from us.
Yep.
I think, like, hopefully we go beat the Jets next week, and then if we can put statements down and get results against Auckland and then last season's champions, that's when I'll really start to potentially look at it and go, oh, you know what? I reckon the good times may be coming back potentially this season, but I'm not going to get too ahead of myself right now because we've made an incredible start, one I wasn't expecting. I mean, 6 wins from our first 8 games is something I definitely was not expecting. And full credit to Tale of how he's gone about it in the off-season and immediately fixing the issues that kept us out of the finals last season. And the defence has improved massively. Find the squad depth might still be an issue. You know, we managed to win a game without Lolly, 2 in a row without Ocon Engsler. I don't think we're going to win every game without those two as well. So obviously there's still issues with squad depth. But as things stand, it's quite impressive the start we've made and deservedly top of the table for the 4th week running now as well. So I mean, any other final thoughts before we move on to the final game of the week?
Look, like you said, I think Perth, their last sort of few weeks have been superb, especially the couple of games that I've covered.
With the exception of the derby, but even then I thought we were probably marginally the better side in the derby, and obviously we should have had the penalty, but I'm not going to bring that one back up again. I'm not Cricket Australia.
But yeah, I mean, it's been impressive from you guys. I mean, obviously, as defending champions, I mean, we're hoping to sort of be that, but we've had Champions League commitments, but it's been really good, you know, given the fact that I sort of watch you guys play most weeks because you're following them.
I mean, look, what I will say is that we can lambast the poor state the league is in and the fact that it's becoming somewhat of what you could say a development league. But I do think one thing has come from it so far this season is because of the fact that there's less quality in the league this season than there has been for quite a while. We are seeing young players look a little more settled because they're not having to always play against some like proper level players. Like we had Douglas Costa last season, of course, if we want to talk about players like up near the top level of football, right? Like, so it is kind of good to see, like, it's giving an opportunity for young players to come in and not immediately be, like, bogged down. Like, we've had Reece Hewley come in. He's looked like he's already at home as one of the best midfielders in the league. Ocon Engsler is in that list as well. You know, other players like Charbel Shamoon for Perth. You guys have a host of young players who look good on
Max
their day
Caputo,
as well.
a few
Jets
others,
as well, who I think is a perfect way to tangent into the final game of the week. Is Jets are all about the young guns, and when they're on it, they're on it. And they definitely were. I mean, they're setting up camp in New Zealand because they've won back-to-back games in New Zealand for the first time in their club's history. So that's something right there. I'm very impressed with Mark Milligan, you know, with what he's doing. I know they're not always the most consistent team, but they do look very impressive on their day, and this was definitely their day. I thought, you know, it was a very even first half between them and Wellington. It was a crazy 10 minutes, basically, in the second half, which ended up deciding this game, where Jets scored 3 times in roughly 10 minutes. You know, Eli Adams is back scoring goals. He had a slow start to the season. He's definitely one of their best attacking outlets. Lockie Rose is always going to be a presence. Like, we're going to talk about the fact that Eli Adams scores, Eze then goes up the other end, puts in the contender for the miss of the season, possibly. I don't know about you. And then down the other end, straight after, Oluwayemi comes flying out for a ball he's never going to be favourite to. Lockie Rose does very good to stand his ground, just lets it kind of bounce off him and then just follows it in and slides it into an open goal, and it's 2-0 all of a sudden. And then shortly after, Clayton Taylor makes it 3 with a very good finish of his own. And, you know, Jets are 3-0 up, and Wellington all of a sudden are looking around going, hang on, 10 minutes ago we were completely in this game and now we're basically done. I mean, look, to give them credit, they still pushed hard because, you know, Newcastle have been good at times, but they can be scored against. Good little guided looping header, call it what you will, from Eze, but yeah, I don't know. Overall, I thought Eze was very physical, very like bullish and stuff like that, but the final product was lacking, not just from him, but from Wellington as a whole. I felt, and you know, Newcastle just ended up capitalising it. I mean, the final product wasn't great from both teams. Had a lot of, like, this game was end to end as you'd expect it would. It's Newcastle's kind of gung ho attacking football coming up against Wellington's high line that they're going with this season. So there was going to be chances and there was going to be goals, and that's what happened in the game. What were your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, you saw more of this game than I did. I sort of mentioned I was at Woolies when when news came through of the rate of those 3 goals in the second half, I was choosing what to have for dinner actually, and I watched the first sort of 20 minutes. I thought I'll go for a walk. Nothing's going to happen. How wrong was I? But from a Jets point of view, it's a really good response because City beat them the week before and they didn't look all that inspiring. And like you said with Milligan, it's a credit to him for being able to. I mean, yes, they've been inconsistent. You're going to get that with a younger sort of side. Especially the way they started with that Australia Cup win in sort of the early part of the season, but it's more about how you respond, and I think like you said, back-to-back wins in NZ for the first time, and the fact that it was a second half, demonstration, demolition, call it what you want, is really credit to them to say, hey, we've gone into half-time, we're not doing great, and then flick the switch and do that. I think is really a credit to Milligan and his side. I mean, Eze, missed a really bad opportunity. And Oluwayemi, who I think was really good in the derby, even though they didn't get the points. Tale of two sides, really, for mine.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think, that's back-to-back 3-1 defeats for Wellington. I don't think they want it to become a repeat of last season because they had a great first season 2 seasons ago under Giancarlo Italiano. And then last season it fell a bit flat for them. And then he's tried to change the system this season. And whilst it's looked a little better than it did last season, I still have those lingering worries that they're just not quite on it like they were when he first became their manager. I don't know if there's I think the general consensus seems to me like pretty much all the fans love him. I mean, all the commentators always refer to him as Chiefy and stuff. It's like they've kind of just embraced him as one of their own, even though he's Australian, he's not a Kiwi. And I don't think there's any like inherent danger of him getting the sack. But I mean, look, it doesn't look like it's going as well as it was in his first season.
No.
I do like the system change. I think it had to happen. It wasn't working last season, the counter-attacking football that he did so well the first season. So he adapted it to try and get Wellington to be a more front foot approach team, and it's definitely helping players in their team. I think Eze's movement is superb as a striker. He just can be a bit clunky at times, that's all.
Yep.
His movement was excellent today. I mean, just Mark Natter and Max Cooper were excellent at dealing with any sort of physicality he was trying to put on them in the end. But yeah, look, great win for Newcastle. It's back-to-back defeats by the same scoreline for Wellington, though. So, I mean, maybe, they missed the chance to get back into the top 6, really, with that one. I feel, because Newcastle are beatable on the day, but they can beat anyone else on their day as well, because, I've got to be careful, because, yes, we turned them over last time we played them this season, but it could be a completely different story this time, so, yeah. Right? I will point out, pretty funny how Sydney and United are both playing the respective Newcastle teams in their next fixture. Well, United are playing Bournemouth tomorrow, but as in next week's fixtures is what I'm talking about. But yeah, that wraps up another week of action across both the leagues. Of course, Melbourne City Macarthur did not play, so that's why we're 1 game short in the A-League. But yeah, hope you guys did enjoy that one. Of course, but I think I've said in other videos of ours recently, this will be the last review until the New Year's, unfortunately, just because my partner and I are going away in a few days' time, and we're not going to be back until, New Year's Eve, pretty much. So yeah, so we won't be able to really do any reviews in the meantime. We are pre-recording stuff up until we got 2 more, I think, to pre-record tomorrow, right?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, so we have stuff to drop over the Christmas period, since I won't be able to record having only my phone, because I'm not going to lug my desktop away with us.
But as I said, City have got a run of about 15 home games between Christmas and New Year, so I'll be definitely at a few of the games, sort of catching up with.
Keep an eye on
what's going,
Instagram,
keeping an eye on the action. So I'll be taking some snaps.
We can both definitely upload some stuff to Instagram if we do, and I might even drop some YouTube shorts potentially, just to keep some form of content going, along with the uploads that we'll be putting out over the next 2 weeks. But yeah, I mean, Ben's got a host of games, Ashes. We've already spoken. He's going to get some content on for the gram, as you call it.
Big Bash as
the
well.
Ashes stuff, yeah. Big Bash game. He's got about 50 billion Melbourne City games coming up now.
Thanks, Football Australia.
Yeah. And he's going to strive to be at every single one of those 7 consecutive home games, let me assure you that. So yeah. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy another episode. We'll be back on Thursday. It will be the first of the pre-recorded episodes. We've already done that one in advance, so yeah. But we tried in the pre-recording not to make it seem like it's back then. We tried to, keep the continuity there as it were. But yeah, so we'll be back with those episodes of Tea Break as usual on Thursday. It won't be a review next Monday, of course. It will just be another Tea Break episode, as I've just said. And we're gonna kind of keep going. We probably won't upload on Christmas Day, understandably, but Boxing Day most likely will be the one after that. But yeah, you guys, follow the socials, like, subscribe, all that stuff. You'll see the content as it drops. We'll both try and stay active on Instagram and, the YouTube shorts as well. I'll see if I can get any stuff done because that's easy to record on a phone. So yeah, but yeah, other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed that episode, because obviously this is the last episode until the New Year's, which we're not pre-recording. We'll take the opportunity now to wish all our viewers a wonderful, happy Christmas and a happy New Year as well, of course.
Definitely, yeah.
Ahead of time, of course, but just because the others are pre-recorded. Yeah. And before when we do the pre-recordings tomorrow, and I say that in there anyway, like some sort of idiot.
Well, and same to you and your partner as well.
Yeah.
Chester.
And to you and your family and your 50 billion clubs that you support.
Yeah, my Saints WhatsApp group, my other WhatsApp group. Yep, it's all connected. But yeah, looking forward to more A-League action over the break. And I guess when we come back in a couple of weeks, we'll be able to sort of recap what's happened in the Bundesliga and obviously in the A-League from there.
Caveat on that, we are coming back with the pre-recorded episodes again, people, but when we actually come back to record, that isn't pre-recorded yet.
Yeah.
I have a bad habit of over-explaining people, if you can't tell already, so...
But yeah, like and subscribe, throw us a follow on Instagram, we'll keep you updated. Have a great Christmas and New Year, and take it easy.
Yeah, alright. Peace out, guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye.